Hi, I'm Nikki Lowe, and welcome to the Wisdom for Working Mums podcast show, where I share insights and interviews that support women to combine their family, work, and life in a more successful and sustainable way. Welcome to this episode. I'm your host, Nikki Lowe, and today I wanted to start off by sharing a guilty secret. It's a fact that when I first became a coach, I felt really ashamed about. But over the years, I learned that it shouldn't be a secret, and it's definitely not something to feel guilty about. And that secret is, I hate goal setting. I really don't enjoy it, and I rarely do it. I know it's weird for a coach to admit that, right? But having a direction in which you're heading is really powerful. I think we can all probably agree with that. The old adage of, if you don't know where you're going, you're going to end up anywhere, quote. So for a few years, I beat myself up about not enjoying or wanting to set goals. And at times I forced myself to do goal setting, but it just felt really inauthentic and incongruent. And I've got big dreams and hopes and intentions. So how do you create a life you love if you don't set goals? And that's what I'm going to be exploring in this episode. I'm going to be sharing an alternative approach if you too don't get fired up about goal setting. And it's based on an exercise I first did with my first ever executive coach nearly 20 years ago now. And it's no underestimate to say it was life-changing. And I don't use that term lightly, as I know it's one that can just be thrown around. So this podcast episode is for you if you want to approach 2022, or actually any time if you're not listening to this when this launches in January, but you want to approach your life in a way that gives you freedom to rise above all the noise of New Year's resolutions or expectations and really focus on what's important to you in your life and your work. And if you head over to wisdomforworkingmums.co.uk/74, the number 7 and the number 4, you can find a download that goes along with this episode. But before we dive in, could you do me a huge favour, please? Can you share this episode with 2 or 3 working mums that pop into your head as you listen? My mission is to support as many working mums on their journey as possible. And so I'd be grateful if you can support them by offering this free podcast. I hope it's useful for you. And if so, I hope that you pass that on. And please consider rating and reviewing my show. Your review can help other people find my podcast. So you'll literally be helping another working mum find this resource. Plus, I love going in and reading them. Just click the ratings and review and write a review where you listen to this podcast and let me know your feedback. Thank you. So one of my big aha moments for me when it came to my guilty secret was realizing that I'm not goal-oriented. That doesn't mean I don't want to achieve things. It's just that my brain and body don't respond well to the process of goal setting. I actually came to realize that I'm experience-oriented rather than goal-oriented. And when I had that realization, it was hugely freeing. It kind of took the weight off my shoulders that I was somehow wrong or not doing it right if I didn't enjoy or do goal setting. What that means is that I'm not motivated to do stuff to accomplish an external goal. I'm motivated by how much I'll enjoy the experience of the outcomes I want. So the normal process of goal setting just doesn't work for me. I find goal setting makes me feel like I've got to use my willpower and conscientiousness to achieve them. And I can do that. In fact, I'm pretty good at it. But it takes more energy than's useful for me to use that approach. Instead, using this approach that I'm going to share with you today allows me to use kind of my intuition and self-source my outcomes rather than focusing on external goals and standards and expectations. And I find that this gives me real freedom and I can get into flow with my life and work so much more. If you can relate to this and if this sounds good to you, let me share with you my first experience of using this approach. And it all started about 18 years ago now. I was working in my corporate career and I was a global account director in the IT industry. I was in my mid-20s and my career had actually taken off in quite a big way. On the outside, I was really successful. I was doing a great job for an amazing company. I was getting to travel to amazing places. And I was being paid a huge salary with all the benefits and perks of being a young corporate executive. But on the inside, it was a completely different story. I was exhausted. I was lost. And I just thought I was being ungrateful. I just thought I wasn't yet good enough at my job. So that's why it felt hard, kind of that classic imposter syndrome. So I kept at it. I kept kind of really working hard. If I look back, I was working longer, harder and faster than most of the people around me, more to prove to myself that actually I could do it and to make it feel better. So I was over delivering and I was over functioning, hoping things would get easier and I would enjoy life more. And this went on for a couple of years before I knew things had to change, but I just wasn't sure how. I kept saying to myself, I'll just do one more year at this and then I'll leave. Just do one more year. And I just didn't know what I wanted to do. And I couldn't just walk away from a huge salary. I needed to know what my exit plan was going to be and what actually I wanted to do in life. So luckily, I began to realise I needed support to figure things out. And to begin with, I went and hired an occupational psychologist, hoping that they could help me figure out what I was good at and what kind of work I should be doing. But to be honest, it wasn't that helpful. I then found an amazing executive coach, Laura, who I'm still in contact with nearly 20 years later. And I worked with Laura for 6 months. And literally, that coaching program changed my life. And as I say, I don't say that lightly. She helped me to get clear on what was important to me, why I was feeling the way I did. And it wasn't because I wasn't good enough at my job, and what I actually wanted in my life. And the work we did was really powerful. And I knew that at the time, but I hadn't realised exactly how powerful it would be until about 6 weeks after my coaching program finished and my world shifted on its axis. You may have heard me tell this story before, but I was sitting on a beach in the Maldives and I had a call to say that my mum had died suddenly and unexpectedly. And in the 24 hours I had stuck in paradise, waiting for that flight home that felt like forever to get home and deal with the devastation, I knew exactly what I needed to do to navigate the journey ahead. And it was from the work that I'd done during my coaching program that gave me that absolute clarity. So I handed in my notice for my corporate job and started to retrain as an executive coach. And within a year, my life looked very different and was totally in alignment with what I actually wanted. How huge is that? And a big part of that was due to the exercise I'm about to share with you. So I don't say that this exercise is life-changing lightly. And this exercise is called Your Ideal Week. And on the surface, this exercise looks really simple, and it is. But that can mean it's easy to overlook how important and powerful it can be. When my coach first did with me, I must admit, I was a little hesitant at first, as I'd never done anything like it before. And I also thought it was just a nice little exercise to do. But boom, the insights and impact were far-reaching. So to start to design your ideal week, we're going to use visualization. And through visualization, we can catch a glimpse of what your preferred future is. And visualization shouldn't be confused with the think it and you will be it kind of advice that you can find out there. What we're doing here is giving you an insight into your heart's desires, what you truly want. And visualization is about forming images in your mind to help you accomplish your goals. It's almost like looking through a particular lens, your unconsciousness, your imagination, your kind of deepest desires, and seeing the life you want unfold within your inner eye. To do this exercise, I need you to imagine it in as much detail as possible, using all your senses so that you can see it, smell it, hear it, feel it, taste it. And for many people, it helps when they close their eyes. And then there are others who just prefer to write it all down instead of doing it purely in their mind. That's why I've created an Ideal Week worksheet download to go along with this episode. You can print it off and make notes after doing your visualization, or you can simply sit down with the printout and journal your thoughts. And I've even created a spreadsheet that you can use afterwards to map out your ideal week. I know it sounds a little excessive, but if you're like me, if you're going to do something, you might as well do it properly. So head over to wisdomforworkingmums.co.uk/74 to download it. But to begin with, what I want you to feel is that you're somewhere comfortable to do this exercise. So if you're listening to this while you're out and about, you obviously don't want to do it with your eyes closed. But I personally find doing it with my eyes closed helps. So if you are listening to this while you're out and about, perhaps listen to it and come back to it and replay it when you're in a place where you can get comfortable and close your eyes if you think that would be useful for you. Because I personally find doing it with my eyes closed helps. It kind of shuts out the external world and really gets me in touch with that inner eye, like my inner desires. But this is about personal preference. Do what works best for you. Find your way, experiment with it. But I want you to really feel in your body. So if you're sitting down, feel your feet on the floor, your bum on the chair, kind of connect with your breath. I want you to come into your felt sense of your body, which hopefully gets you away from the distraction of your mind. And your body is probably where this data sits about what you really want. So we're going to begin by taking a leisurely walk through a week that would be ideal if it represented your usual days. So not a holiday, not a special day, but the very substance and essence of your life and work as you would love it to be. And I want you to think about this in the present tense as if it actually exists and is actually your life. I want you to imagine it in as much detail as possible, from getting up in the morning to going to bed at night. And I also want you to know you have absolute freedom. Absolute means and all the skills and power that you've ever wished for. So you have permission to explore and imagine stuff that your mind might not think is possible. If your mind tries to interrupt you in this exercise with those voices that kind of say, this is silly, stupid, impossible, or whatever your version of that is, just kindly tell it thank you and ask that it allows you to explore without resistance. To begin with, I want you to imagine your ideal week on a Monday morning. So where are you when you wake up? Are you at home? Are you in your current house that you've lived in previously, or is this a new home? Are you even in this country? So where are you when you wake up? What does your bedroom look like? What does your bed linen feel like? Who are you waking up with, if anyone? What do you do when you wake up? And hopefully it's not reaching for your phone in your ideal week. Do you lie in bed and just enjoy that moment? Do you get up and do something? If so, what? In your ideal week, what would you love to do when you wake up on a Monday morning? And I want you to imagine that. What time are you waking up? What's your ideal wake-up time? Do you get up and look out the window? Do you make a drink? If so, what are you drinking? Where are you drinking it? What kind of cup are you drinking out of? What is your morning routine? And imagine it in as much detail as possible. What can you see? What can you hear? What can you feel? What can you taste? What can you smell? Maybe you're getting up and journaling. If so, imagine where you're sitting. Have you got a candle lit? What does that smell like? What's the pen light you're holding? The book you're journaling in? Maybe you're getting up and doing some exercise. If so, imagine what kind of exercise, where you're doing it. What are you wearing and how are you feeling? Maybe you're getting up and having a shower. And imagine what kind of shower. Is it in your current bathroom or somewhere else? What kind of products are you using? Are you listening to music? If so, what kind of music? If you're having breakfast, think about what kind of breakfast. Who are you with? What are you all doing that makes this your ideal Monday morning? The more detail you can layer into this exercise, the better. What is your morning routine? Are your children going to school or childcare? And think through your ideal morning routine with your children. Do you work on a Monday? If so, imagine you're getting ready for work. What are you wearing? Where is your work? Do you work from home or do you go to a place of work? If you work from home, where in your home? What does your home office look like? And if you're travelling to a place of work, where is it? How do you get there? What time do you leave? What time do you arrive? Imagine the kind of work you're doing, and you don't actually even need to know the job, but get a sense in your ideal week of the kind of activities you're doing. Are you in meetings? If so, what kind of people are you meeting with? What kind of conversations are you having? Are you sitting doing work, or are you standing up? Maybe you're presenting, training, teaching. How do you spend your morning at work, and what kind of experiences are you having at work in your ideal week? Then think about your lunchtime. What time do you take your lunch break? What do you do? Where do you go? What do you eat? How long do you take for your lunch? Then think through to your afternoon. Are you working? If so, what kind of work are you doing? Are you sat at a desk? Are you in a meeting? Are you out visiting people? If so, where? And what kind of conversations are you having? Think through in as much detail as possible, through to when you finish work. What do you do after work? Think through your afternoon to evening ideal routine, and how do you transition from work to your personal life? What time do you eat dinner? What are you eating? Who are you eating it with? Where are you eating? And what do you do after you've eaten? What do you do with your children before bedtime? And what time are they going to bed in your ideal week? And what do you do after they've gone to bed? What time do you go to bed? Think through about your ideal bedtime routine and imagine this in as much detail as possible, what you can see, feel and hear. And now I want you to repeat this process across the whole week and notice what pops up for you as you do this. How many days are you working? What days are you working? What do you do on a weekend? And let your unconscious mind present you with your deepest desires about how you would like your ideal week to be. And once you've taken the time to imagine your ideal week from Monday through to Sunday, take a breath and reflect on what's emerged. What do you notice? How different is your ideal week from how your current average week in your life is? And this exercise should start to identify where you're currently living your life in alignment with your kind of hopes, needs and desires. And it should also start to indicate where you can make shifts to align it. And that helps you become experience oriented. That might start to indicate the goals you want to achieve. But what I found with this exercise is naturally my unconscious mind starting to make course corrections to get me into alignment with my ideal week. It was kind of more effortless and in flow than sitting down and forcing myself to do that traditional goal setting. And as I said, when I did this with my coach, within a year, I'd created my ideal week. And when I was doing the exercise at the time, I thought that week was near impossible. I let myself kind of imagine it, but my mind went, no way that can happen, because it felt so hugely different to what my life was like at the time when I did it. But that's the power of this. By giving yourself permission to even explore it, that's when the transitions can start to happen to realign. So I hope you found these insights into creating your ideal week useful. Remember, you can head over to wisdomforworkingmums.co.uk/74 to download your personal ideal worksheet and also spreadsheet. So as I say, I know that seems a little excessive, but I want you to be able to get real power out of doing this exercise. And I hope that as you've listened to them, they've sparked some ideas on what you want from your ideal week to look and feel like, and how you can take the goodness from these into this year. I'd love to hear any insights you've had from this episode. So drop me a note on social media or email me. I genuinely would love to hear. So thanks for hanging out with me in this episode. And could you do me that huge favour, please? Can you share this episode with 2 or 3 working mums that pop into your head as you listen? As I've said, my mission is to support as many working mums on their journey as possible. So I'd be grateful if you supported them by offering this free podcast. I hope it's been useful for you. And if it has, can you pass it on to another working mum or 2, please? Thanks so much for tuning in. And until next time, take care. If you've enjoyed this episode of Wisdom for Working Mums, please share it on social media and with your friends and family. I'd love to connect with you too, so if you head over to wisdomforworkingmums.co.uk, you'll find a link on how to do this. And if you love the show and really want to support it, please go to iTunes, write a review and subscribe. You'll be helping another working mum find this resource too. Thanks so much for listening.